Hello, good morning, and welcome to Self-Care Sunday, where we explore what it means to fill our own cups. Say hello in the chat. Hello, my friends, and happy Canada Day long weekend. And I hope my Canadian peeps got to fill your cup a little bit yesterday with some family and friends as we celebrate our great nation. So first, I want to say congratulations to all the parents, all the kids who made it through this school year. Summer vacation, woohoo! So I had a super cool experience in the past 2 weeks. I had the honor of attending two grade 8 graduation ceremonies for my son and my stepson. And it was eye-opening because I got to witness firsthand and kind of like relive the programming that I got at their age. And so today I wanted to talk about what we can do as parents to mitigate that a little bit and help our youngsters grow into balanced humans. Good morning, Jen. Yes, you are on time. Thank you so much for showing up today. I'm excited to talk to you about this topic. So I'm living in a house with 3 teenagers and a tween right now, and I am getting to re-experience the highs and the lows that come with the teen years. And I can tell you firsthand that each of the young men in my house puts on a tough, stoic exterior, especially around their friends. But I know that inside that toughness is a fragile and vulnerable little piece of themselves that is desperately wanting to feel safe, but never quite achieving that, never quite feeling fully safe. And I'm talking about teenagers today because that's my reality, but I'm sure that this is true for all of the kids. Because kids today have to navigate things our generation never had to. They communicate in ways that we never had. They're constantly connected to everything and bombarded with messages. There is so little time for their minds or bodies to reset. And yes, messages like text messages and Snapchat and all that stuff, but also media messages, well-meaning educational messages, norms and standards that are put forward by all of their YouTube heroes and various different role models, and that comes from every direction. They're often conflicting, and they have access to all of that, and it's coming at them at all times. And that's leading to a culture where anxiety is at an all-time high. Suicide rates are at an all-time high. And so this is not a talk about technology. Yeah, social media alone, Jen, absolutely. I'm not going to talk about to tech or not to tech in this chat, but I am going to talk about that when we pair an experience with an emotion, it is much more likely to stay with us. And the teenage brain is all emotion. So all the things that they are getting is more likely to stay with them, and they have more things than we ever had to navigate through. And that's exhausting. And you may know this already, but like the lizard brain at the back develops earlier and quicker in our teens than the frontal cortex, which develops later in their teens. And that means that our teens are living in that high emotion, that high alert, that instinctive feeling all the time. And because of this is the developmental stage that creates most of our programming, and where our mind solidifies what works and what doesn't, which programs it's going to expand upon and grow, and which programs it's going to eliminate based on what our mind perceives to be the safest during this ridiculous, tumultuous roller coaster period of our lives. And so we remember our programs come from everywhere. And in middle school, most of the input comes from our peers. That's what we care about the most. other kids who are in the same brain stage as us with overactive amygdalas and underdeveloped frontal cortexes who are experimenting with things like bullying as a form of fitting in and being a jerk as a way of getting noticed and becoming popular. Okay, so that's our peer input. And so I'm seeing that firsthand with the kids, but also some of our input comes from grown-ups. Sometimes very well-meaning grown-ups in leadership positions that we look up to. And so that's what I want to talk about today, because one of the graduation ceremonies that I attended included merit awards. Interestingly, one did and one didn't. So in this situation, in this graduation ceremony, the person with the highest grade of each subject in each class got an award. That's cool, okay. There was also an athletic award. And so I have mixed feelings on the merit of merit awards, but there was one particular comment that a teacher presenting an athletic award made, and it just made me cringe. Everyone else was applauding, and I actually said out loud, "What, that's a good thing?" Okay? So the comment was something along the lines of, "I have chosen this student for this award because I admire that second place was never good enough for them. Even when they performed at their personal best, they were never happy, never satisfied. They always wanted to improve, and they would work hard to do better next time." And knowing what I know, God, that rubbed me the wrong way. There was an entire graduating class in attendance, over 200 kids. What do you think their minds took in there? Working harder gets me an award, gets me noticed. My best is never good enough. That person is way better than me, and their best is never good enough. I am never good enough. I will never be good enough until I am the best, or I will never be the best because I will never be as good as that person. Whew. Okay, I'm feeling this. And so I want to be very clear, because tenacity, it's a balance. It's such a balance as a parent. It's so hard because tenacity and hard work, those are good traits. Those are traits we want in our kids. But this type of messaging is what leads to a very narrow definition of success in our kids. Like, success is the highest grade and the fastest time, because those are the only people who got medals. And as we grow up, we already know this, we talked about this, success definition turns into moving up, getting that promotion, making more money, and ultimately getting recognition, just like at this ceremony. And I couldn't help but notice that there was no award for the person who always cheers on their classmate. No award for the person who chooses to be happy despite adversity. No award for having gone through crap and pulled yourself out of the hole. No award for being brave enough to set boundaries or to reflect on your own behavior and make changes that are in alignment with your values. And nobody even talked about showing up to school despite debilitating anxiety, or for taking the time to rest when you need it. Okay, and so I do a lot of work with parents, and when I talk to parents, all we want, all any of us ever want, is for our kids to be happy. And do you think that these programs, these merit-based programs, are going to lead to a lifetime of happiness and contentment? Maybe put a yes or no in the chat on that one. So, in this situation, only the best got an award. But what does best mean anyway? There's another program, another definition. The definition of best that doesn't include the character traits that I want my child to value. Sometimes it takes more perseverance to get a C than it does to get the top grade in the class. And that is the program that I want my child running and taking with them into adulthood. Okay, enough ranting. Let's talk about how do we fix that. So we have the power, parents. We have the power. Let's help our child feel noticed for the traits that we want them to take with them into their best and happiest life. If we are driven by recognition, let's decide as parents what we want to recognize them for and then do it often. How would they change, and what burden would be unloaded from them if we started noticing and growing what we wish we had as programs? The programming that we're trying to build as grown-ups right now. So let's give an example. For example, I feel guilty, like I'm letting everybody down if I'm sick. I have so much trouble calling in sick. I do not want to call in sick. I want to check my email all the time when I'm sick. I want to be there for everybody when I am sick. That is a program that I don't want to have anymore. So I want to recognize my child for the things that create different programs, because I do not want them to carry that program. I don't want them to have that program. So what can I do? I can say to my child, hey, I see you taking really good care of yourself while you're sick right now. You let me know that you weren't feeling well, which is a great first step, using your voice. And now I see you eating a nutritious lunch. You also took a nap this morning, which is a great way to help your body recover. It's so responsible of you to look after yourself so that you can get back to being healthy much quicker. Do you see how that is shifting the child's perspective on what it means to take a sick day? And that their goal is to get better faster, which means taking care of themselves in the moment? Okay, let's do some more examples. What about that child who didn't get any awards and who worked super hard to get that C? What program do we want them to have? I know that I want them to celebrate how hard they worked and see that, those traits that come with that are not reflected in the grade. I want to notice them for their dedication. I could say something like, man, you did every homework question, even though it took you hours. What persistence, what a huge success. You are caring about your future. Okay, what about the kid who is obsessed with getting A's? Maybe this kid got 5 awards, the top in each subject. It is very tempting as parents to think, like, pat ourselves on the back and say, man, our kid is doing amazing. They got 5 awards. That's so cool. They've got their entire future ahead of them. But what programs do they have that are going to hold them back? And when I say hold them back, I'm talking about from happiness, not from that narrow definition of success we were talking about, because they're going to be successful in that narrow definition. But are they going to be happy? Are they going to have the traits and the habits that allow them to enjoy their moment, enjoy their friendships and their connections? What programs do we want to grow in them? For this kid, it's going to be all about balance. So you might say something like, hey, I noticed that you hung out with your friends tonight and then you read a book. It is so smart of you to know that your body needs time to relax and that resting and enjoying is going to help you keep up your energy. You could also say something like, I noticed that you got a B on that test and you didn't freak out because of it. Or you realize that your grade is not tied to your worth and you don't need to be perfect in order to be successful. That is so mature of you. So each and every one of us is different, and each of our kids is different. And our goal as parents is to help them live their best lives. And that is going to look different for each kid. One kid, you're going to need to pull out that drive to succeed. And another kid with an overactive drive to succeed, you're going to need to pull out the balance of that drive. And once you start knowing about programming, it starts to become a little bit more obvious which ones their mind is growing. You can see based on what they're doing. And you can start getting very intentional about making sure that you grow the programs that will best serve them long term. So think about that. How would your life change if your programming was a little bit more balanced? So I just want to give you an example from my life. I know I struggled with my old programming this week because I tried to make a decision as to whether or not to postpone my replenishment masterclass. And my old programming says, people need this. They need this now at the beginning of the summer when they're spending all this time with their kids. Not at the end of the summer. Don't disappoint people. Be worthy of their friendship. Provide value. They joined your group after all, and you need to give them what they need in order to live fun and fulfillment just like you promised them. And while my old programming was screaming at me and berating me, my body was screaming at me from the other side to take a break. I knew that the signs were showing up that my body had taken on too much, and that if I continued at this pace, I would burn out because I've been there before. But yet I still felt so conflicted. And in order to combat my old programming, I needed to give recognition to myself, just like with our kids. And I needed to sink into the idea that listening to my body is not a failure. It can never be a failure. Postponing my masterclass doesn't mean I can't cut it or that I'm letting people down. What if instead I could reprogram that to mean that I'm listening to my body and I'm prioritizing my health, which also means that I'm prioritizing my family because they need me to be healthy. And by saying no to this right now, I'm saying yes to loving myself enough to give myself what I need. Gosh, it's so hard to give myself what I need with my old programming. I will never get an award for postponing an event, but having the courage to do that despite my old programming is something that I consider a success. So I challenge you this week, my friends. I challenge you to do two things. Number one, recognize your kids for anything that will build programs that will promote balance in their lifetime. And number two, recognize yourself for something that you are doing to promote balance. Even the tiniest little things in both yourself and your kids, like staying in bed for that extra 30 seconds of bliss. Oh, okay. So for those of you who came to my session on mini self-care moments, you can do just 10 seconds. So just sink into 10 seconds of warm, cozy bed. Find that feeling of contentment and use it to rewire your brain for positivity. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, send me a message and I'll send you a link to that training. Okay. Now, I've given you a lot. And I ranted. Thank you for listening. I always say that one of life's challenges is having to make coffee without first having had coffee. And the same is true with parenting, wanting to keep our kids emotionally healthy when we might be struggling ourselves, or wanting to give the kids the best programming while we are still working through ours. So I leave you today with the message that you are doing an amazing job at all of that. And probably way better than your old programming is willing to let you believe. So well done, parents. Congratulations for making it through the school year. Congrats to your kids for making it through the school year. I hope that you have a wonderful first week of July, and I will see you soon. Mwah!